All right. So for tonight, I'm wearing Dallas. This is a Shannon jersey. The Shannon jersey is very often something nobody else would have. Something that people would look at and go, "What the hell are you wearing?" And yet, at the end of the day, they're like, I like it, and I don't know why. I have the yellow buffalo. I have the flying V. Now I have this. I want the. In fact, before I go into the rivalries, this magazine I have perused through so many times, especially when they get to the ugliest jerseys in the game. And it's funny because, for the most part, I have them or I want them. So number 10 is the blue Atlanta. I want that. Number 9 is this Montreal barbershop pole bullshit. Nobody wants that. Even Montreal, I mean, I know that was their original jersey and whatnot, but that's a maple leaf on the front. You don't want to wear that. Buffalo at 8, I want the Buffalo Slug. I want the blue one. This Nashville mustard disaster, I wouldn't wear that. Even I would not wear that. The fish sticks, I want the fish sticks. This King's miraculous disaster. There's a hat in that style on eBay that I wouldn't mind having, but they want like $60 for the hat. Okay. Phoenix. I don't mind that one actually, and I almost bought it at one point, but I couldn't find it in male size, like adult. I could only find it in youth. There's my Flying V. Anybody who knows me knows I have the Flying V. My #1 video on this channel, I was wearing the Flying V. So don't tell me it's not good luck. And number 2 is the bad boy I'm wearing right now. Look at that. Number 2. And number 1, I would not wear the Wild Wing. There's nothing on this fucking planet that could make me wear that. That's an absolute bloody disaster. Let me read what they say about my Dallas Wonderment. My fantastic, I finally have it jersey that I have waited for since 2003-2004. The 2003-2004 Dallas Stars alternate jersey is one of the most unexpected designs in the history of NHL jerseys. And I'm wearing it, and that's awesome. I'm finally wearing it and reading the article. I love this. It's unusual for a team to add an entirely new color not used anywhere else in its identity package, which is exactly what the Stars did by adding red to the new look. While the addition of red raised eyebrows, what really got people talking was the new logo, a bull's head with an overlay of a constellation, and the addition of a shooting star with a sweeping red tail. So, see, there's the shooting star, the sweeping red. That's a star. Like I don't know. It's incorporating the Stars logo into the Taurus. I get it, and I mean, the Lone Star State, and there's always the bull, the whole Texas thing, the Texas Longhorns thing. I knew what they were going for. The logo was described by the team as depicting a constellation of individual stars aligning to form an unstoppable force in nature, a charging bull. Only that's not how the critics saw it. Oh no, the bull's head immediately reminded many of a diagram of a woman's uterus and was derisively nicknamed the Mooterus. I found this by going on eBay and typing in Mooterus. The funny thing is, people who see that in this picture, seriously, if you think this looks like the inside of a woman, it's a bull's head, you have a problem. You hate women, deal with it. It looks like an hourglass more than anything, which is also offensive. Women do not always have an hourglass shape, and that's sexist, and I will forgive you for thinking that. I really don't see the big deal, because Orion, you look up in the sky and Orion, he's a uterus. He's not the hunter, he's Orion the uterus, because it's the same shape. Fuck's sake. The jersey was not well received and was worn the minimum number of games as required by the league. Dallas Stars owner Tom Hicks was quoted as saying on the occasion of the Journey's final game, "Good riddance." The funny thing is, you can't find anyone around here who'll take credit for designing it. I classify this jersey as ugly due to the unexplained inclusion of red and the way it combined with the black jersey and dark shade of green used by the Stars. It was a dark, depressing jersey even before the logo was applied. How is this depressing? There's stars on the sleeves. There's bloody stars on the sleeve. How can a star be depressing? It's a green star. It harkens back to the Minnesota North Stars. The Minnesota North Stars had a green jersey and stars on them. Star on the N. You can't have an N and a star. What is it then? The Mooterus? Ooh, I don't like how that came out. Oh, no. Yeah, it was a dark, depressing jersey even before the logo was applied. As for the logo, there were just too many ideas combined for it ever to work. The bull's head was lost under the map of constellation, and was unnecessary. And the unnecessary shooting star only added to the visual confusion. If you're visually confused by a fucking jersey, give up. Go into your apartment and stay there. Look in the mirror and say, I was confused by a hockey jersey. I need to rethink my life. It's a hockey jersey, for bloody hell. There were already stars inside the bull's head, and the streak of red only distracted the viewer's eye. You're not painting the fucking Vatican here. Like, it's a hockey jersey. You're not... You know, they got Megan Trainor on here, and I'll be damned if I didn't think... The other night, I was watching out of the corner of my eye, and all I could think was, Demi Lovato's really let herself go. And then I realized it was Megan Trainor. Okay, all right, that's enough of it. Oh. And then apparently she complained because his ex-boyfriend wouldn't pay $1.29 to download All About the Bass. I don't blame him. The song's crap. I applaud him for having standards. I'm sorry. This is hockey. All right. Then there was the unfortunate resemblance of the logo to the female reproductive system, which reduced the entire thing to a laughingstock. Well, laugh. Have a laugh. Have an absolute laugh. Because to me, this is a nice jersey. I remember the first time I saw it in a game, and I was like, oh my god, I want that shirt. I have to have that shirt. I may have to go through my jerseys and come up with 10 oddities to show you people. Tomorrow is my Friday. My weekend comes up. I will show you people the oddest of the jerseys I have. Now, I realize I have a video from way back when where I go through my jerseys, but I go through them really quickly because I was trying to get all of them in a video. Let me try that now. Holy shit, I've added so many jerseys over the last couple of months. But to me, when you try something different, I applaud you. Unless there's a bunch of fucking trumpets around it like the Blues. And Mike Keenan looks and goes, my team's not wearing that. We're going to forfeit the game tonight if you make us wear those. Which he did. He threatened, we're not taking the ice until you give us a real jersey. That I agreed with totally. The Mighty Wing, or my God. My God. Just... The Wild Wing jersey only had a lifespan of 6 games before being shelved for good. Now think about it. These jerseys are right next to each other. You're going to tell me that this piece of shit is only slightly worse than this, than what I'm wearing? This piece of shit, right here, this shitty should have been in the East Coast Hockey League as a third jersey, not a regular jersey, a third jersey, maybe in BC Junior League, maybe Bantam, maybe Pee Wee. Keep going down, because this jersey doesn't belong anywhere near the National Hockey League. This is uglier than the Flying V. I love my Flying V. That's uglier? Are you shitting me? Are you kidding me? And really, it's that much uglier than the Fish Sticks jersey. It's uglier than the Fish Sticks. And Phoenix. That monstrosity from Phoenix, which looks like it's got fire around the bottom of it. And that's supposed to be the desert. And it looks like fire. It's like they're roasting a coyote's head. And that is not as ugly. And it's got a moon on the bottom of it. And that's not as... Why is there a floating coyote? The only way that works is if it's the space coyote from Simpsons. Then you've got a bitchin' jersey. Then you've got an amazing jersey. And as they skate around, when the air passes through the jersey, you hear the voice of Johnny Cash. That's a jersey. That's a jersey. This is a monstrosity. This is absolutely... And the Burger King jersey from the Kings. Really. That's a more attractive jersey than the one I'm wearing right now. Seriously. Let it go. Absolutely let it go. Let go of the idea that just, oh, it looks like a uterus. Oh, really? You sure? Because I can probably come up with phallic imagery in a bunch of jerseys and logos. Dear Lord. And then there's Chad Kroger wearing a Detroit. Oh, there you go. There you go, Detroit fans. Chad Kroger cheering for the Wings. He's a prick. Married Avril Lavigne. What did Avril Lavigne marry him for, anyways? I was perfectly willing to be single for her. As long as she didn't sing. And this is one of the jerseys I have here. The one Eddie Shore's wearing. Sadly, it's not in that kind of shape, though. It's not NHL ready. I may have to replace it. It's got a lot of stains on it, too, because it's white jersey. And then they get into WHA jerseys. You want to talk ugly? World Hockey Association. That's some ugliness right there. Okay, the Crusaders there, the Cleveland Crusaders up here. That's not bad, but the Cincinnati Stingers, the Cowboys down here, the Minnesota Fighting Saints. Come on, come on. That's ugly jerseys. That's not right. All right, but I will set this aside. I will get more into this at another point. For right now, do you know what gets me with Meghan Trainor too is here's a woman who gets famous because she's fat, and it happens. Now she's lost weight, and now they're like, "Isn't she beautiful? She's lost weight." Wait a minute. You can't put somebody out there as being fat as beautiful, and then have them lose all kinds of weight and go, "Aren't they hot now?" Come on, bullshit. I can't stand pop culture. This is why I watch hockey. Never heard Kyle Wellwood going out there. I look so svelte this year, boys. I look fat. No, he just stayed the way he was. He was fine. There wasn't a donut he didn't enjoy. All right, rivalries. Now, I haven't gone through this magazine in a long time. Gary Bettman versus Bob Goodenow. Nobody cares. Ah, yes. Rocky Mountain Motown. Colorado versus Detroit. Somebody asked me about this rivalry. Now, what's interesting for me is I hated both teams. I hated the Avs and I hated the Wings. I hated the fact that the Avs had left Quebec, taken Patrick Roy, and become a juggernaut. I hated Detroit for being Detroit. And the rivalry between these teams was awesome. When people are asked to name the best rivalry in pro sports in the late 90s, early 2000s, they tend to go to Red Sox, Yankees, Dodgers, Giants, Celtics, Lakers. I almost said Celtics. Oof. I almost pronounced it correctly. Bears, Packers, and Maple Leafs, Canadians. No. The late 90s, early 2000s Leafs, Canadians wouldn't count because they weren't in the same conference. They weren't in the same division. That's stupid. Who in the world would say that? Not even close. None of them. Not the rivalry anyway. The honor belongs to Detroit versus Colorado. Some of the better rivalries in pro sports from about 95 to 2002 or so had the nastiness quotient. But when you combine the nastiness plus the high skill level from both teams, nobody comes even close. Consider a few facts. The Red Wings and Avalanche met in the Western Conference Finals 5 out of 7 years, from 1996 to 2002. And the teams won a combined 5 Stanley Cups in that span. Either Detroit or Colorado made it to the Western Final in every one of those years. The rosters of the two teams made those years had 21 players who either already have made it in the Hall of Fame or are considered shoo-ins for future consideration. The skill players fought each other, the goalies fought, the goons fought, the fans fought, and even members of the press from both cities nearly came to blows on one occasion. It was hockey at its best played and ugliest. In other words, perfect. The more that time goes by, the more I keep thinking, did that really happen? Said Avalanche defenseman Adam Foote, who played in all the games from those years and has the scars to prove it. It's hard to describe, actually. The games were beyond intense. You felt like every single second was life or death in some way. Nothing felt better than beating them, and nothing felt worse than losing. I remember Crawford and Bowman. I remember Crawford and Bowman going at it. Crawford losing his shit. Just losing it. And Crawford, well, no, Crawford could be kind of temperamental, but man, he lost it. Just right over the edge. And honestly, who could blame him? Because Scotty Bowman was the master behind the bench. I mean, you can argue, well, Scotty Bowman had the best teams, so that's why he won, almost a dozen Stanley Cups. You have to be a damn good coach to win a Stanley Cup. The Hawks have won 3 Stanley Cups. Without Quenneville, they may have won none. I have watched good teams with average coaches get upset in the playoffs. But when you've got a great coach, that upset is really difficult. The difference between a good coach and a great coach, I look at Vigneault, and I like Vigneault. But when he was coaching Vancouver, you'd see the Canucks in control of a series, and then you'd see that momentum switch. And Vigneault never had an answer. And as soon as that momentum switched, I go, well, that's it for this series, and I changed the channel. And I remember my ex would be like, what are you doing? I'm like, the series is over. And she's like, but the Canucks are up 2-1. I'm like, the series is over. The momentum just shifted, and the Canucks look like they're deer caught in headlights, and Vigneault can't adjust. And every single time, the Canucks were done, except in 2011, when the Blackhawks lost in Game 7 in the overtime. If the Hawks win that game, that is the greatest choke in the history of hockey, because the Canucks were up 3-0. And the Hawks were down and out, and they just clobbered them for 3 games before Game 7. The Canucks almost choked that away, too. All right. The thing about the Wings-Avs rivalry that made it even more amazing, it probably never should have happened. In a drop of the Canadian dollar and escalation of player salaries in the mid-90s, if that hadn't squeezed the province of Quebec, the beloved Nordiques never would have moved to Denver, which was a failed NHL town when the Colorado Rockies moved to New Jersey in 1982. If the Red Wings hadn't run up the score on an embarrassed Patrick Roy in the 1995 and the 1995 Montreal Canadiens on December 2nd, 1995 game, Roy never would have forced his own exit in a trade 4 days later to the fledgling Avs. Detroit made it happen. Wow. More powerful than I thought. And if a feisty winger named Claude Lemieux hadn't absent-mindedly signed his name to a fax contract offer late in the regular season of 94-95 in New Jersey, shortly before winning the Conn Smythe Trophy against the Wings, he never would have forced a trade to Colorado. In that case, 2 of the most central players of the great Detroit-Colorado rivalry never would have been on hand. Another bizarre fact, the Avalanche's first game in Denver, October 6, 1995, was a placid affair against Detroit. 7 months later, blood literally was splashing on the ice, and the hatred between the teams was real. It was probably the best rivalry I've ever been part of, says legendary Detroit coach Scotty Bowman. If Bowman says it, it's true. Absolutely, it's true. Most people remember Lemieux's vicious hit from behind on Chris Draper in Game 6 of the 96 Western Final as the touchstone to the intense rivalry. Claude Lemieux was a piece of shit for a lot of the time that he played hockey. So, yeah, it was a dirty hit on Draper. And I say that as a guy who didn't like the Wings. But that hit, that was just absolutely gutless. Many forget it actually started in Game 3 at the old McNichols Sports Arena in Denver. On a play, the left half boards in Colorado's end, Foot's head was down, driven into the glass by a sucker punch by Slava Kozlov, opening 18-stitch gash on his forehead. A few minutes later, Lemieux drilled Kozlov with a sucker punch of his own, which led to him being suspended for Game 4. Hey kids! Retaliation leads to further penalties and often suspensions. God, Lemieux was stupid. Leaving McNichols after Game 3 with his wife and infant son in tow, Lemieux walked past the idling Red Wings team bus. But when he heard a shout from inside, "Hey Lemieux, you son of a bitch, I hope they suspend your ass," Bowman yelled. "Excuse me," said Lemieux, who instantly recognized the voice belonged to Bowman. Lemieux went so far as to step inside the bus to confront Bowman and was greeted with numerous further shouts of profanity from Bowman and Red Wings players, still savoring the 6-4 victory that had closed the series deficit to 2-1. When Colorado came home with a 3-2 lead in Game 6, Lemieux ran Draper headfirst into the boards, resulting in multiple facial fractures and blood all over the ice by the Wings bench. Lemieux, who would be suspended for the first 2 games of the Stanley Cup Final against Florida, seemed to shrug off the hit as an innocent act, which only inflamed the Red Wings and their fans, who hadn't tasted Stanley Cup success since 1955, even further. It was horrible, and he did shrug it off. It's how Claude Lemieux played the game. It's why I was very glad when I heard that his kid got drafted, that Brendan Lemieux doesn't play the game that way. I can't believe I shook his freaking hand, said Detroit Ciccarelli after the game. Detroit vowed revenge, but entering a March 26, 1997 game at Joe Louis Arena, the Avalanche were not only the defending Stanley Cup champions, they were dominating the Western Conference again. Detroit seemed old and tired, next to a team that featured Waugh and numerous other stars such as Forsberg, Sakic, Deadmarsh, and Ozolinsh. But starting with a memorable night and continuing for the next 2 years, bragging rights belonged to Detroit. Brash, rugged third-line forward Darren McCarty saw an opportunity to exact physical revenge on Lemieux during a stop in action late in the first period. And get revenge he did, pummeling Lemieux with a flurry of punches that left the Colorado winger dazed and bloodied on the ice with his hands over his head in meek defense. Oh, the turtling that Claude Lemieux would do. He would go in and he'd smash your whoever, player, head first into the boards, dirty fucking hit. And then as soon as you'd go to take revenge, he'd turtle. Oh, no, don't hit me. I swear, he was a fucking Gollum, okay? He was Gollum in the NHL. Fucking Gollum. Should have been thrown in the volcano. That started a Donnybrook that saw Waugh and Red Wings goalie Mike Vernon trade blows at center ice. A rare fight that left Waugh with a bloody face when McCarty, whom referee Paul Dvorsky would later admit should have been tossed from the game for cold-cocking Lemieux unprovoked, scored the game-winning goal on Waugh in overtime to cap a 6-5 comeback win. The arena went wild. Detroit seemed a new team after that, winning the next 2 Stanley Cups. Changed the complexion of our team, McCarty said. We were kind of getting the reputation at the time around the NHL of a team that was too pretty and not gritty enough. After that game, we felt we could play any kind of style and still win games. Anybody who didn't think they were gritty wasn't paying attention. With McCarty, with Draper, and with Dandino, they were plenty gritty. There was lots of grit on that team. And later, Thomas Holmstrom. There was no shortage of grit on that team. The Avs remained defiant, with Mike Keane mocking Detroit for only fighting on home ice, calling the Wings a bunch of homers. In the 97 Western Final, in the waking moments of a blowout loss in Game 4, Colorado coach Mark Crawford launched into a profane tirade at Bowman, even mocking the metal plate he supposedly had in his head from a junior hockey accident. Bowman never had a plate inserted. I remember this so well. Bowman responded with a simple, "I knew your father before you did," referring to Crawford's dad, Floyd, a longtime coach. Crawford only responded with more profanity. "Yeah, and he thinks you're a fucking asshole too," Crawford said. Detroit won the Cup in 97-98, with Raw and Detroit goalie Chris Osgood having another fight at center ice in April 98 of a game in Detroit. Oh, God. Oh, I love hockey. The Wings seemed well on their way to a third cup in a row after taking a 2-0 Western Conference semifinal lead on the Avs in 99. The first 2 wins came on Denver ice, and workers from Detroit-based Northwest Airlines greeted Colorado's charter plane prior to Game 3 with mocking sweeps of their broomsticks. Never do that. I'm saying that to fans. If your team's up 2-0 in a series, 3-0, I don't care. Don't bring brooms. Don't mock the other team, because they're paying attention. And nothing will make a team fight faster and harder than seeing fans, players, media, anybody mocking them. They're professionals, they're in the playoffs, and sweeps are rare. So don't do it. Colorado suddenly awoke with a blizzard of goal scoring on 3 different Wings goalies and winning the next 4 games. The Avs followed that up with likely the rivalry's most lopsided series victory, a 5-game triumph in a 2000 conference semifinal match. After Colorado won the Cup in 2001, all bragging rights were back in Denver's camp. And when Forsberg scored in overtime to beat Detroit in Game 5 of the 0-2 Western Final, the Avs had a 3-2 lead heading back to the Pepsi Center. One more win, and it would be 4 out of 5 playoff series in Colorado's favor. The 97 series would be an aberration. But what made the rivalry so great was one side's ability to reach back and land a great punch when all seemed lost. The Wings, behind goalie Dominik Hasek, I don't know, Hasek was a flash in the pan. He had a couple of years. I'm just kidding. Stop. Don't make a comment. Stop it. Shut out the Avalanche final two games of the deciding game, a 7-0 blowout in Detroit. I will admit, I laughed my ass off watching that 7-0 blowout. Absolutely loved it. As a Canucks fan who'd watched Colorado whoop my Canucks all year, it was nice to see Colorado get whooped. It was very nice to see Colorado get the crap beat out of them. Fantastic. Today, players from both sides speak in reverent terms to what it was like during the rivalry, calling it the best hockey they'd ever been a part of. But still, not all animosities died away. My stomach still churns whenever I see that Detroit logo, Keane said. Great rivalry. What I remember is it was some of the best hockey and dirtiest that I've ever seen. And Claude Lemieux, one of the absolute worst weasel dirty rats in the history of the game. When I gave a list of my least favorite players ever, the ones I hated most, Claude Lemieux wasn't on it. Because I wanted to make sure that I didn't do research. I wanted to be sure it was something visceral and something in my brain that I really hated these guys. Claude Lemieux, I think I have a blind spot for him because I hated him so completely for the way he played the game, for the dirty, disgusting tactics he employed regularly, which, as bad as Dale Hunter was, Lemieux was 5 times worse. And I say right now, I don't know that there's a player in the game who plays that way anymore. Kassian has the potential, and that's not good. Kassian throws dirty hits. He throws them at bad times. He has the ability to score. He could eventually be a 30-goal scorer in the NHL. I will give Edmonton that much. If Kassian ever reaches his potential, he could be a 30-goal scorer and a guy who gets 100, 150 penalty minutes in a season, and they'll look like geniuses for picking him up off the scrap heap. But if he plays like Lemieux, he'll cost you as many games as he wins you. Lemieux won a lot of Stanley Cups. And every now and then, when there's a slow year for Hall of Famers, Lemieux's name is going to get mentioned. I hope they never forget incidents like the Chris Draper hit. They certainly did when it came to Pronger. Pronger's not only in the Hall of Fame, but he's on the safety committee. And I went off on this before. But I think in the NHL, there's a blind eye turned to dirty players too much. And I'm glad that at least in terms of the way players are suspended now, having a previous record means something. It's not a perfect system. You're never going to have a perfect system. But by all means, keep taking it out on this jersey and pretend this is the ugliest thing ever when that piece of shit played hockey and won. You have 3 Stanley Cups or 4? I think he had 4 because he had one in Montreal in '93. Then he had Jersey in '95, and then he won, I think, 2 more in Colorado. He may have had 5. He may have had 3. I'm not happy right now because Claude Lemieux just, no. You know, he destroyed Chris Draper's face, and his reaction to it was, his face shouldn't have been near the boards then, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. And you can't do that when you damn near kill somebody out of your own reckless and premeditated plays. So when you see like a Raffi Torres going out there and doing dirty shit, and yeah, Raffi Torres does dirty shit. The difference is Torres can't put the puck in the ocean. Lemieux could score 30 goals. He didn't need to do that shit. He did it because he liked it. He enjoyed it. Tikkanen played on the edge, and Tikkanen did his own dirty tricks and whatnot, but Tikkanen was more like a buffoon, a clown. He would get another team off their game by pissing them off, by talking to them, by knocking their stick out of their hands, by grabbing their stick and flinging it across the ice. Trying to think if it was Tikkanen who broke his stick and then pulled Peter Stastny's out of his hands because they're the same hand. So Stastny hit him, and Stastny took a penalty for roughing. That's good ratmanship right there. That's fantastic ratting. If you're going to play like that kind of a rat, I will cheer for you, and I will love you, and I will watch every play you do. But if you're going to bash somebody headfirst into the boards, if you're going to take cheap shots against guys who are not expecting it, guys who aren't big enough to defend themselves, and you're going to wait until it's the 4th line, and maybe there's no tough guys on the ice. See, the funny thing is I always hear, tough guys are a deterrent. When they're on the ice, yes. But if they're not on the ice, they don't deter shit. Ask Claude Lemieux. Ask him how many times he fucking turtled. Ask Ulf Samuelsson how many times he turtled when he was challenged about the shit he pulled. Tough guys are a deterrent. Bullshit. They didn't deter shit. Ask Cam Neely about his shortened career thanks to Alfie Samuelsson. No deterrent then, and Neely played on the Bruins, and there were plenty of guys on that team that could have beat the crap out of Samuelsson. But when a guy's going, don't hit me, you're too busy suppressing vomit at the fact that this guy plays the same game you do to throw a punch. It's hard. Try puking and throwing a punch. Drink 3 liters of milk and then try having a fight while you're puking milk everywhere. That's how it would feel trying to beat up Ulf Samuelsson. A load of shit. So that's my view on the the Detroit-Colorado rivalry. It was fantastic, and it made me angry the whole way along. And that's what a good rivalry does. I'll get into more rivalries because this book's got tons of them. I'll get into more rivalries tomorrow.